I would like to call the meeting into order. And first thing first, I would like to have minutes of the meeting ratified by you guys. Can I have a motion that get it ratified?
Yeah.
Caroline Webb. Motion to have minutes ratified. Can I have a second? Do we have a second?
A second to ratify minutes.
Second by
Christine, political science.
Political science. Is there any objections? Okay, seeing none, the minutes have been approved as written. All right, so moving on to my report. First thing on my agenda today is the internship opportunities discussion. Today we have guest speaker Bill McCarthy from Flashman Career Center. He will be here to talk about, what the Career Center can do for the graduate students in terms of internship, and he will also be looking for insights, ideas, and suggestions from us today. So, Bill, you have the floor.
Hi, once again, my name is Bill McCarthy. I've been here at Binghamton University 16 years now. I've worked in the counseling side of the Career Center, the employer side of the Career Center, and just recently I moved to what's called the Binghamton Bless program. It's a program that the university is trying to put together as another graduate program here. But part of that construction, as they kind of go through this process, is they've identified me as someone to try to help develop internships for that program. But at the same time, as I start to look at internships for that program, as I talk to employers, it's like I'll be talking to them about different opportunities for grad students when it comes to internships, and probably as well at the same time as I talk to employers about full-time jobs. The challenge for me right now, because this is relatively new change, that my job before was overseeing employer services, working with a lot of employers. For example, in our database, we have over 5,600 employers in Higher Bing, which is our database of employers. But now with my new role, I'm going to start to look at that database of all those employers. How many of them might have grad student opportunities, grad student full-time jobs, grad student internships, not only for this Bing Plus program, but for other majors as well. The challenge where I was more SOM, Watson, undergrad, but now I'm trying to meet this different kind of students and learn more about the different programs in the graduate school. And just looking at the stratosphere of master students and PhD students and the depth of the different majors, I don't want to make an assumption because, Bill's been here 16 years, I know exactly what you need. When you start with that assumption, kind of like any researcher, if you start off an assumption like that on your dissertation, something's bound to go wrong. So hence why I met with Sheng recently to kind of start to get to know the graduate student population. Today my goal is one, not to make any assumptions with the graduate student population, and two, to get to know who you are, the different kind of needs you have. For me to start to look at how can I start to look at employers that as I talk to employers, get as much out of my year's time, so to speak, to serve as many students as possible in the graduate student population. The emphasis will be internship, but it's going to be pluralized like that. But before I even go any further, just by a show of hands, how many people here have been to the Fleischman Center? Okay. As a grad student, when I was in graduate school down in DC, I was working full-time, running around trying to do grad work. The thought of trying to get to the Career Center is not unusual, at least in my experience, and having worked at 3 universities, it's not unusual that people at grad levels don't always go to the Career Center. One, I want to tell you, the Fleischman Center is open for grad students. We do have resources there. So I'm not surprised maybe a few of you have, but I want to welcome you to come there. One of the things I can tell you through our Higher Bing system, you can always make an appointment with me because my community now is graduate students. So all of a sudden, if you want to meet with me and talk about your individual internship needs, maybe your career needs, your job internship or job search needs, you can go on Higher Bing, make an appointment with me. I'll be glad to meet with you all, and that'll give me a double-edged sword. I can help you individually, but at the same time, I might be able to find out different needs that you might have and help me identify different employers, because sometimes if you look at the numbers of the grad students, There's only one of me in about 2,000 work hours in a year. There's only so many employers I can reach out to. How can I get the most bang out of my buck, of my time as I work with for you? Because that's my job, is to work for you students, and at the same time, do the best I can to find as many employers, to provide opportunities.
Sorry, what's your name again?
It's Bill McCarthy. Okay. What I'll do, when you send out minutes, my name, we can put my name, my email address, phone number, so everybody can have that. I mean, I'm glad to do that, yeah. Okay. Sorry, so since only a few people have been to the Fleischman Center, a lot of times there's myths, and I can admit myself, the Career Center is only for undergrads. That was my assumption, and that was the myth I had as an undergrad, but when I was a grad student, when I went there, they do help grad students. And the same thing here, we do help grad students. I'm gonna pass around, I have a whole bunch of handouts here. One, for example, that's going around, it's just a quick version, and by any means, this is not the complete version of all the things we have. The first is HireBing, I kind of already mentioned that. HireBing is basically our database that you as a grad student have access to it. You're already in there, you might not even realize it, okay? So any jobs or employers, events and things of that nature that we learn of go into HireBing. So you can go into this HireBing system and start to research internships, full-time jobs, and the such. We have a thing called Interview Stream, where if you need some help with interviewing, okay, we provide that service. A lot of students I'll hear from the graduate students, you don't help us with interviewing, or you don't help us with mock interviewing. We do. Okay, Interview Stream is a technology we use that you can tap into, as well as if you need a mock interview, like as I mentioned before on HireBing, you can make an appointment with me, and I can do a mock interview for you. Okay, Going Global is a great database of different jobs and employers that can help you out. For those students who are how many people here are PhD or doctoral level? Okay, so most are doctoral level. Okay, virtual PhD. Matter of fact, I'm going to hand this around now. Okay. Virtual PhD, just by its nature, is a source for grad students at the PhD level that provide different information of, wow, I want to be a faculty member, or are there other places I can go? Okay. So as you look at the handout, and I know I have limited time tonight, I'm just going to kind of give you highlights. So virtual PhD is a source that you can tap into to help you in your search for faculty positions, other kind of opportunities. Because I've been doing this long enough, I've been doing this over 26 years, probably longer than some of you have been alive, that, some students, well, I got my PhD, I don't necessarily want to be a researcher, or I want to go in faculty, I want to go to different areas, or there are some people who want to go into faculty research. We, as the Career Fleischman Center, myself, can help you out that way, okay? So, virtual PhD is another source. And there's also LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn accounts that you can tap into to help you in your job search. For example, and I'm going to go to this next thing, okay? We do these things called the New York City Employer Visits. It's the week of January 11th to January 15th. There's going to be all sorts of things going on in New York City, from a networking event on Wednesday the 13th, where there's going to be alums meeting with employers, or alums meeting with you as students about, maybe you have some questions about how they got to their career, how you got into a certain field. The handout I handed out, this is a list of the different employers. This is another thing that we're doing, a list of employers. We've already called up employers and said, hey, a lot of our students from the New York City area, do you want to have or host students to your business that week? And these are the employers who have said yes. You'll notice on a little bit to the left-hand side, we modified this literally today for me for this presentation. If you look to the left, you'll see a G, okay? That letter G refers to that there are employers that are part of this New York City Employer Visit Program, where you go in, meet with employers, hear what they have to say, hear a presentation from alums, from HR people, that the ones with the G are specifically or do have openings for graduate students, okay? To get involved, you'll see on the flyer, there's a handout about orientation sessions. You need to go to one of those orientation sessions to learn how the process works, how to apply, things of that nature. Even though the dates run December 1st, 2nd, 4th, and the 7th, we have orientations there. I would strongly suggest to go before the December 1st one. The reason is the sign-ups for this begin on December 1st, but we always know there's going to be students that want to come in afterwards after they hear about their brains. So if you're interested in going to that, this is a service that we provide to grad students, okay? We have workshops on all sorts of different topics, whether it be a resume, CV, interviewing skills, you know, job search. We have this, okay, that I'm handing out. If you go to our Google Calendar, there are all sorts of different ways we can help you in your job search, internship search, because we're here to help all students, not just undergraduate students, okay? And my point is, and the big point I want to make sure is, my role now is to be a help to the graduate student community for internships, potentially jobs as well. Come on in, make appointments, and/or there are other people on staff that are just as qualified as me that can help with the myriad of issues and challenges and needs that you might have as a grad student, and programs is just one of them. Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. So the jobs that you say are posting in these different databases, are they mostly for the industry, or do you also have academia, like postdocs or a gym professor positions or things like that?
I mean, there's an array of different opportunities. So for example, out of Higher Bing, as I mentioned before, there's 5,600 employers in there. One of the things I'm going to be looking at is, you know, how many of those have internships for grad students, and I basically call it McDonald's. I'm going to try to upsize them. You already have maybe an undergrad, you should look at our grad students as well. You know, I'm going to,
Right,
at
but
the same time.
that's industry. I was asking, like, in the academia, do you post those?
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, there's jobs like that come in for academia, yeah. Sure. Okay. And I think there's always holes in, I've been doing this long enough, there's always holes for opportunities. So if there's maybe academia jobs, maybe there's something maybe you and I can meet, and maybe there's certain areas that I can maybe look at, to start to look at. Maybe there's certain colleges I could call out to. You know, and I've done this before in my previous jobs and even as here. If I get a large enough population of students, hey, there's a certain school, I will call them up and say, hey, I have a whole bunch of people that want to work for your university. Can you tell me about your openings, to start to recruit them, to list their openings through Higher Bing. So we have some stuff now, but my goal is to increase what we have based on what I hear from students. Okay, and that's another thing that I'll refer to now. That mark your calendar that we do have a spring job and internship fair on February 10th. One of the invites I'm going to ask you is that if you have employers that you might have an interest in, send me an email. Maybe we can put that in our recruitment schedule of inviting those kind of employers that you might have an interest in to come to our job and internship fair. Okay. Sometimes though, some employers based on the needs, and I wish I could tell you as an example, if you wanted to go into journalism and wanted to work in the New York Times, I've worked at 3 colleges. They will not come to colleges to recruit for jobs because they have so many journalists and writers and researchers and statisticians already going there. They won't come to campus. However, they will post job listings. They will post internships. So part of it is trying to understand what the needs are and maybe making some phone calls. So I have to list those things so that it can respond to different needs. Okay.
Bill, will there be like
ahead.
different universities that maybe have like an assistant professors jobs or postings that will be at that fair? Or could you guys work to try to get something like that?
I would say more so than not when it comes to like university openings. That's going to be more postings than coming to fairs.
Okay.
Because of the size of it. Yeah. It's a matter of supply and demand. Okay. As an example, I had a friend one time who wanted to go in the sports industry. You know, sports industries don't recruit on campus. Barely send their job and internship listings. You got to go to them. You know, but so you got to understand that there's different tactics we take to try to get their attention. Okay. All right. And this is just one example of, I did some research off of our website. This is science careers, okay? As an example. If you look at here, it's pretty interesting information. It goes on different stats about different PhD level. You know, so one, I want to make sure you're informed about activities that are going out on an industry, but as well as and it goes by different categories. So some of it is, I want to start to learn about different areas and needs of students throughout the graduate community, and start to look at maybe there's certain data of significant populations of the school that want to go to significant areas or opportunities or geographic locations, and start to develop an outreach plan with the employers. Okay. But this is just like one example of something that people can tap into. There's a whole section of our website specifically for grad students. Okay. I mean, that's my kind of like introduction. I look at this as a long-term journey. I've already talked to Samantha here, right, Samantha?
Nope.
Samantha, sorry. About, I want to make a connection with, because I think you do professional development.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. This is just the beginning conversation for me. We're going to meet, you know, if there are other students that might want to meet as well. Go ahead.
Would you consider setting up workshops with individual departments so that you can focus on like one area at a time with a group of people?
I can look at that, sure.
Do you have specific for international students? Because with all like the visa problems and all that, like it's not specific, so I never know if that would work. That's why I didn't waste my time like going to see you, because I thought like usually they say, oh, but you're not a citizen, so whatever.
One, I have to speak to the reality that when it comes to international students on F1 visas, you know, there are challenges there because you can't work at the Department of Defense, you can't work at federal agencies, things of that nature. I can tell you that the International Students and Scholars Office and the Fleischman Center work together to list on the International Students Scholars Office of employers that students have gotten opportunities at. There's a list right there. You know, because I've been doing this a long time, and it is a challenge. Yeah, but I look at it as, you know, appreciate or recognize the fact that there are certain employers that won't just hire you. Just forget about them. Now let's look at who was out there, and let's look at a strategy of how you start to reach out to them. And that's maybe where I can maybe coach people, do a LinkedIn presentation, and how do we start to do research on LinkedIn that you could do, or I can start to do, and you can start to make some inroads with. But it is a unique problem, and it's a bit of a challenge. I'd be lying if I said it was.
Oh, it's hard.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's nothing to say that it's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah. Do you have a
Yeah,
question? Sure.
you spoke about the New York City orientations. I mean, apart from the Northeast, can you set up some kind of, maybe broaden the horizon and let us explore other places in the United States?
I think that's a possibility.
Yeah, because going to New York City and working over there and trying to find employers is relatively easier than finding someplace else. So if you could assist with that, that would be really helpful.
Mhm. So you're saying non-New York City visits, I mean, trying to collect, do presentations at departments?
Or workshops, yeah.
I mean, are there other things that people would like to? Because what I'm trying to do is try to brainstorm some ideas, you know, not only education for students, but then also the other part of the process would be, I start to identify employers and then start to work with them, because I think it's a two-step process. Giving you skills and giving you opportunities, and I'm glad to share that information, but at the same time start to reach out to employers, so that's a 1-2 punch. So workshops to employers, other than New York City
Yeah,
visits.
and other thing was that when the employers do come for the job fairs, when we go and ask for a particular job posting, which is maybe in California, they say that we can't help you with that because we just deal with hiring in the Northeast. So if employers could come in from all over the country, that would be really helpful.
And I can tell you, for example, we do like a job fair prep kind of orientation and workshops, program, whatever you want to call it. Part of what we try to teach is that a company might be in a certain location. Part of what we try to teach students is, undergrad and grad, all right, I'm interested in your company, but I'm interested in a certain location. We'll try to teach you how to network with that recruiter that day. Maybe get a contact with someone that you can talk to, or try to work with the recruiter that day. You know, how do I start to look at this way? Maybe they can help you, or they can hand things off, and I've seen that occur.
Yeah, because the last time I was at the job fair, they told me that we just hired the hiring process in New York City, and they did not give me a connection maybe someplace in California, so that didn't work out so good for me. So if there's some kind of mock-up sessions going on for that, then it would be great.
Okay. Okay. So that'll work the job fair kind of program.
Yeah, throughout the country, not just in the Northeast.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I think another big difference between undergraduate need and graduate student need is for jobs and not internships.
Mhm.
I definitely, I'm not looking for an internship at all. So I think we need more focus on that,
Okay,
yeah, and not internships.
so more job, less internship.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one last brief comment. I don't know if you're really the right person to address this to, but during graduate student orientations, they don't really give them the reality of what the job market is really like, and that's something I'd really like to see change, because faculty advisors generally have the wrong ideas of what the job market is really like. And it would be nice to see, in graduate orientations, given the real facts about what the field is like, and that maybe going to grad school with the idea that you're going into academia is not necessarily the smartest plan.
Well, once you're there, it's kind of late.
That's what,
No, it's not. You
it's
can
not
do
too
lots
late at
of things with a
orientation.
PhD.
It's too late 2 years in.
And you can
It
do lots of
depends on
things
the
with a PhD.
And I can think of one faculty member, I try not to name drop Chris, some people don't like me to say what they said, but I'll just say, I had one faculty member who said, when it comes to a job search, I know how to get a job as a faculty member, but I don't know how to get a job elsewhere. And I respect that statement, one, because, I mean, I've never gotten a PhD, and it takes a lot of work to get to that level, and he had a certain goal, but he also acknowledged, there's only so much I have, and that's where we started a dialogue of how can our services in the Fleischman Center help him and help the students. So those conversations go on to kind of say, not everybody wants to go into faculty, and I can tell you nationally,
To begin with.
Yeah, and I-
Numbers wise.
yeah, I mean, number-wise nationally, there are too many PhDs being produced for the amount of faculty positions out there. It's the truth, and what do we do with it? And I've never been a one to stick my head in the sand. I'm more of one of, all right, what's the challenge? Run right at it, and let's find a solution.
Well, thank you.
Google.
Thank you, guys.
Is this the smart corner?
Last two questions, please.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just going back to what you said earlier, in my department, we actually have to have, we have to have internships, otherwise we can't graduate. And I think that speaks to maybe the difference between master's program and PhD program. That would be something you might want to explore further, what the different needs are, not just graduate versus undergraduate, but master's versus PhD.
You've read my mind. That's one of the biggest things that, like, I think what a master's student needs versus the PhD and the diversity, that's part of, like, I'm still running that gerbil through my head to figure out what's the best way to spend my time to address this.
Well, and along that same lines, as they need internships, usually PhDs, we need a postdoc. So like postdoc, postdocs.
All right, last one. Oh, wow. No more?
No, these have been good. This has been good.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, so Sam, I'm gonna find you sometime. If there's other people that wanna, I mean, and this is where I look at it as, I'm a single person that's glad to do this. I love my job. It's like, I have to say, I kinda get a little embarrassed because they pay me to help you. Get the hell out of here. I mean, this is so much fun. But at the same, really, it's like, I think that's the.
Paying us that way.
Yeah.
Why don't you pay me to get out of here?
Yeah, and it's great. It's really fun work. I work with employers. They're trying to find smart people. I'm trying to help smart students. This is a really fun endeavor. So part of it is, I mean, Sam and I will talk. But if there's other people, I want to hear from others. Maybe we can meet together. I'll give you my email. We'll figure out a time to meet. Maybe it's more than just you and I, because I think there's an old proverb about the dad who has 3 sons. I think it's an Asian proverb where the dad has 3 sons and like the sons are fighting all the time. And the father had enough and he gave each son a pencil. And he go, can you break it? And the one son broke it. The second son, he broke it better, and the third son was more powerful. He broke it even faster. Then the father gave the 3 sons 3 pencils each. The first son, the second son, third person. The proverb meant, and what the dad was trying to teach his sons was, we're stronger together. So 1, 2, if there's other people, I'm glad to work together in productive ways to try to solve and help you all out. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Boom.
Right. And thank you everyone for your suggestions. And if later you think of something else, that, a better ideas, feel free to email me or Bill, and like you said, we can do Alright, moving on. Finally, I have to receive that. Moving on to my second agenda, stipend issue. So first of all,
Where's the sign-in sheet?
For senators.
and I understand we have some guests here today. If you haven't signed in here, in the guest sign-in sheet, please sign in here.
Pass that down this way, please.
Okay.
For the gas, you guys need to sign it? Okay, we'll get it back.
All right. So yesterday, Sarah and I met with President Stanger, and we talked about the issue. We learned some statistics. So according to him, each year, with the permission of the state, the university will increase the students' tuition of certain to a certain amount, and because of this tuition increase, last year the university has $5 billion dollars because of that increase, and out of this million, out of that $5 million, $3 million came to the hiring of 30 new faculty members. 1.5 to 2 million went to the funding of strategic projects, aka the roadmap. And out of those 1.5 to 2 million, 600,000 went to the plan for the stipend increase for the incoming PhD students. And so that's the pool where the money comes from. And we also found out that unlike what Ding Xiao told us, it's $600,000 per cohort per year, not over the 4 years. So that's a lot of money for the university to spend. And I asked him why just cut out, since you're gonna use that much money on the stipend increase, which is a good thing, why just cut out three cohorts of students? And he's like, and he pretty much said he understands it's not fair, but the decision has already been made, and it wasn't made by himself as an individual. It was made by the roadmap steering committee, as everybody on that committee voted on it, and the budget review committee reviewed it, and he said it's been there for 6 months. Nobody has said anything, and so it's final. That's of course what he pretty much said. And he also pretty much said, and he also said that this stipend increase thing is actually the provost's idea. He was the one who proposed the plan, and he was the one who worked out the numbers. So and so if we want to kind of convince the administration, so he's the one we need to talk to. And another thing is that so please put it down if it's necessary. We will be having a town hall meeting on December the 2nd, which is 2 weeks from now. It's on
No, it's like 4 weeks.
4 weeks from now. That's on the same day of our last Senate meeting, and it's happening. It's starting from 7 o'clock at night, and we're thinking of like having it go on for an hour or to an hour and a half. So we encourage you all to go to the meeting, and we also encourage you to go to your department and encourage the TAs and GAs in your department to participate in it, because this is a really good opportunity to raise questions and voice your concerns to the administration directly to show them that we are serious about this issue, and this is really affecting the morality of the current students, and the university is wrong in doing this.
Excuse me? So this town hall meeting is going to be with the provost?
The provost, yeah.
And at what time, where?
We are thinking of the lecture hall, but it's not.
We haven't booked a room yet.
Yeah, we haven't booked it yet.
But it will be at 7.
The idea is they wanted basically to have a small room so we wouldn't have a big turnout, right? There's obvious reasons for that. We want to have it in the lecture hall so we can fit at least, you know, a couple hundred people in there, right? So that shows that we're unified, we can mobilize, and that we're serious. We have really serious concerns. So we will reserve a room here shortly. And we might even modify the last Senate meeting to shorten it or something.
Is Dean Strail going to be there?
Probably not.
Probably not, so it's just going to be the provost.
Yeah, according to the president. According to President Sanger.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Just with all due respect, doesn't it seem like December 2nd's a little late in the game, since we're only gonna have 2 weeks or something before people disappear, and by that point they'll be admitting new students and sending them letters, at which point this really is kind of set in stone. They've admitted people with the new stipend. I mean, to me it just seems like maybe we need to move the timetable up a little bit if we want to be able to pursue some options that might not be on their terms, administration's terms.
And to also support what he says, I mean, meeting with the provost, just one provost, one guy, is not gonna do anything. Basically, there's nothing we can say for 5 hours that's gonna make him change his mind. The president said the whole budget meeting, the whole budget group sat on there and the board and all that. So it's a waste of time. It's nothing. It's not gonna give us any result.
It's,
Yeah, go for it, give the backstory.
I completely disagree with you that it's a waste of time. In fact, I think the idea that they're even getting them to talk to us at all is a huge step forward. You gotta recall that they basically concocted this plan with the perception that they could completely run around us and not speak to graduate students in any way, shape, or form. We are forcing them to defend their ideas to us. That is the key idea behind having this meeting, that they need to explain themselves to us, and they can't just ignore us.
But
They,
how-
not him.
Exactly.
They. So we need a
exactly.
they to be there, not just one guy.
But I totally agree, because when we have a meeting, we actually have to do it earlier than December 2nd, because time is very crucial here.
Okay.
And also invite more people than all.
And we can record the session, so everything is safe, goes on
Exactly.
record. That is important.
just we made this meeting, right? But just because we're having it on December 2nd doesn't mean that we can't take action beforehand. Like, it's great that they're going to meet with us, but they're going to give us an administrative answer to anything that we say to them. So we do need to come to this meeting with our shit together and know, like, anticipate what they're gonna say and what our responses are going to be also.
And then it wasn't something where we just sort of randomly, as a small group, when we met as employment and labor, said, oh, let's just invite one person. We came up with a lengthy list of administrators, and that's the one person who's agreed to actually
And
show
they
up.
agreed just one person?
Yeah, President Stenger said he would not do it.
Well, initially he said he would go and along with the provost and Dean Straw, but then he backed out.
But
Hold on.
here is,
Hold on, who's at his hand? Hold on, who's at
Alright, I think something, a quick point of clarification. Stenger actually himself is not as powerful as someone's kind of think as president. It's more the provost who we really want, because he's actually the one who really is the governor of this plantation. So like, the president is more, well there you go. The president is more like about like getting money for the school, and fundraising, etc. So getting the provost, I think, actually is not a bad thing at all. The provost is really the one, the ones who are always quiet are the ones you want to always target. The ones who are in the public you kind of want to ignore sometimes. But I think the provost is very important. But I think also the earlier comment about we do want to have a moved up hall, I think is important. It's true. Once the letters go out, it is set in stone, and the things we have to do to push them, I mean, are going to have to be so extreme like in the non-legal way, that like it's just that we want it done earlier, because once those letters go out, it becomes a legal thing. If they change what they say, they accept people and they give them a particular amount of money, and then they change that, they can be taken to court. So which means what we're gonna have to do to make it change that opinion is gonna be so drastic that I think that I do agree with an earlier timetable for a town hall. But I think that one thing we have to understand is we gotta get people like together, knowing what the issues are, and already having plans done to actually see what we want to do, so we can move on it now. Because once December 2nd, 3rd, that basically is an exam week in a week, and then Christmas break. By the time we get back, it's February. We got to get our engines running again, and by that point, it's really almost really too late. So I have to agree with the earlier statement that was made. It's got to be pushed earlier. But I do see what Sam was saying. We can do things prior to, but then we have to make an agreement that we all want to do that.
So I have a question. So what exactly is the timeline for when people are accepted and when they receive stipends? These don't kick in until fall of 2016, but I'm not sure. Are people being accepted in January? Do they get their stipend information in January? So that if that's the case, then these concerns are valid. But in my head, I was thinking that it's not as much of a time issue because my thing is it's farther out, but I might be wrong on that. So that's just, I guess the question, does anybody know exactly what the timeline is?
I think it's more the issue of the regulation. I'm sorry, I'm Toy, but I'm also like the interim GSU chief steward. And so essentially, I think if I did gather it correctly, is an idea of incremental steps to put pressure on the administration. That's what's going to take time. So the idea is that by the time if we're having a meeting on December 3rd, incrementally, unless people are willing to kind of like go ham during exam week, by the time we get back from the new spring semester, our incremental steps is going to be too late. So we should have April when we're actually going to be doing certain things to actually put the kind of article in the New York Times. If people want to have protest actions down at the office, and again, we're going to have to push that, make them budge. It's going to take time. So the idea, if you don't do it as soon as possible, it may run us into when letters are already sent out. So if I get those, sorry.
I totally agree, like, the time is crucial, but I think about the provost, and also I think we should get the president, because then that's the time when the pointing starting. The president said that, or the provost gonna say, oh, I didn't say that. So, it would be a good idea to actually to have them both, so they can answer our question, not like blaming other for that. I think we can get a more straight answer if both of them that. Because your information, what you present, is basically what the president told you, right?
I was wondering, have our counter proposals been presented to anyone? I know we had 3 models using, has that been presented?
We're gonna do that today.
Yes.
Here in a second here, so.
So when I went to my faculty to get the signatures, they are all very supportive in the English department, and they said that they think that our best tool to combat this is to propose these models and to get actual people. So the letter, they said was a good first step, but it's very vague, and to adopt a model and have people endorsing a specific model, because it's a call to action as opposed to just, we want change, but we don't know what that change is.
We hold on to that.
Okay.
I'll go over that here shortly.
So right now, Sheng was giving us an update on the meeting with President Stanger. So there's other stuff that I think Ben is going to talk about, like specific things that we want to plan for next week and specific details about the proposal. So perhaps we should move into that other stuff so people aren't confused and they know everything that's on the table before we start getting into the details.
Good call. All right, so moving on to proposals.
Okay, so before we get to the proposals, I want to deal with the letters because there has been some concerns about it. I've had multiple departments saying they're concerned about this. They don't want to agree to all that. They'd like to adjust it in some way. Would you like to give examples?
Yeah, for example, in our department which is sociology, they said that they basically support our action here. However, they find our approach to get those signature inappropriate, because they would like to at least write at their own level or choose which way they're going to support. So the support is not questioned here. They were stressing that yes, they're going to support us, but the approach it has to be different. So I don't know if you guys, any of you had some problem to receiving the signature for some similar reason.
Which department?
Sociology.
Oh, okay.
I can just speak on ours. They basically, the idea of having a united front was a good idea to have a uniform letter, because then it's not saying, well, chemistry thinks that it's okay if we do this part, but English thinks it's okay if we do, it's like a united front. They were worried about the specificity, but as far as endorsing the same letter, they said that that's exactly that they've organized at other universities, and that's exactly the way you need to organize, is have a united form that everyone is signing, coming up with a proposal or
So, let's put this into numbers. How many departments have signed this document? Psychology has. Who else?
Math, chemistry, engineering.
Okay, so how many departments are asking for an adjustment? Sociology and anthropology?
And the others?
Who didn't get any of the signatures?
I mean, I'm from econ, and I talked to them, and they just want to know that other departments are signing. That's one thing. And the other issue was that, no, I mean, they just don't want to be the lone department signed. So they just want to know that, like, oh yeah, a bunch of people signed, so I can go back and tell them, like, oh yeah, psychology signed and so forth. The other thing is that they're concerned about the time issue. Like, they don't think that we're going to be able to do it by January, because they have to send out offer letters in January. And they think that they wanted me to give them updates about that. But their view is that within 5 years we're gonna have to do this anyway. So this is really petty to cause like drama in departments. Because people are gonna graduate and they're gonna get replaced. So within 5 years everyone's gonna get the bonus anyway. That's their perception on this.
Well,
Let's stick to the letter.
But now I'm a little confused, because there was 4 or 5 of a department who actually received the signature.
I think a really valid point. Does anyone have anything to say about that? Time is on their side. Literally, they just have to wait. Their objective is to keep.
Yeah, but we're trying to do this in a systematic fashion. We're on the letter. We're gonna go forward the proposals. Let's stick to an issue at a time, and we'll talk about the time issue here in a second.
But I would like to ask, because 4 or 5 departments said, you guys have the signature from the department, and a couple of us said we don't have the signature, so where is other department sense? Because it's basically 9 departments and it's more than that, right?
so how many departments said no, they cannot sign this? Any department?
My department
Please
said
show
they
it by
support
listener.
us, but you need to.
The department or the students in the department?
Those departments.
The department, so.
Yes.
So, we have 30 signatures here. Some departments have signed it. Some said they wanna sign it, but they need a job.
Well, I mean,
There's
in
no-
my case, it was that they want to sign it, but they just need to be apprised of the situation.
Okay, and are there anyone to say, no, we're not gonna sign it? No, okay, so if
How many
we,
people asked though? Because it sounds like a bunch of people didn't ask.
I mean, did not ask the department at all. What's the department?
Political science.
Political science.
We're waiting for our qualifying results first before we do anything.
Talked about this last meeting.
Yeah,
There's no
we
reason
spoke
we
about
can't
that.
force me to do this right
Well, is
now.
that the only department?
I'm just trying to keep like our direction.
We didn't ask it because our meetings are on Wednesday, which is today. So, we can head up to the action we can get to talk.
So are you gonna ask them?
She's going to ask me.
So,
But in that respect, we basically wasting time as well, because we already supposed to come up with a generally accepted plan, and we could go from there, but
We're gonna do that right today.
so
Right
the
now.
thing is that
Yeah.
if we wanna keep waiting for every department to give their excuses and some not signing, time is gonna run
We're
out.
not waiting.
No, I don't think
So
it was
we
so
can
much.
use what we
They
have
just
right
want
now.
to.
They will present the next part.
Okay.
As I said before, we want to get full support from faculty and the GSCU members, which the majority of you are part of, even if you didn't know that. We need to get support from many groups, which means it's a multi-pronged approach to trying to mobilize people in full support. The letters was just one way. My suggestion would be to ask, one of the sociology faculty members to adjust it to how they feel, because I think that's the best way to go. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I would suggest that wherever the department wants to just attend to that and we see what they offer, and if it's halfway through, we'll accept it. Another thing is that how many of us have the signatures from the students? This also plays a huge role in this solidarity.
But I still don't understand the other department, why don't they talk to the faculty members and why they don't ask for graduate student signature?
Well, we heard that two departments feel like they are waiting for something. So, I mean, if we have those tens and hundreds of signatures, we have like almost 40 from psychology department. I know some other departments have a lot. No, this is already something we have to push forward.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, if we can't get them all, we can't get them all, but if we can get the majority, I think that's a
And
step
by the
in
way, we
progress.
got this within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just 24 hours.
So how many people have that letter with them today?
Yeah, please give them to me at the end. Okay, ready to move on? Any further
Does
clarification?
anyone want to report anything about their experiences trying to get signatures? Anything else they want to bring up?
As we get those, we can compile that list so that you can present that to your department. If you haven't done so already, you can present it with the list, so then there will be more.
That's what I needed. But I mean, the other issue was the timing. That's what my department's really concerned about.
Several other departments have successfully done it, so I would tell that to them, that they are not alone. I wanted to make a quick comment to what you said to report something. So when I spoke with my chair of my department, he told me that all of the faculty from a lot of departments basically had a meeting where Stenger and Neiman explained this to
Stanger
them.
denied that in our meeting.
The dean of my department told me that, and frankly, I trust his word.
Mine as well. The deans, yes. The deans, yes, and
Right.
the chairs. The chairs have been apprised.
Oh, wait, the chair of my department is what I mean to say.
Yeah, same with me.
Right, so I'm pretty sure that that was a real thing that happened.
Oh, I believe you.
So don't be afraid to talk to your chair and get them to tell you about that, because believe me, this is not the first time they're hearing about this. So they should, and I was able to learn new things from talking with my chair about what the administration is doing. They have useful information that they can share with us.
Okay, one more thing yeah.
So who is this, we're compiling all these letters together, getting the signatures, and we're presenting this to whom?
Well, we'll get to that here shortly.
Well,
With the proposals
when
themselves.
these people get this, what's stopping them from saying, so what, all we have to do is wait, they'll be out of here in a couple of years.
Okay, well.
Yeah, they can say that.
They can say that.
That's their concern. So what they're concerned about is getting more students here.
Yeah.
The time and effort is being placed there. What are we gonna do, leave? You're here already, that's it. It's like you go to Disneyland, you're already paid, who gives a shit? We're waiting in line.
Well, there's alternatives.
Some of us are not okay making $7,000 less than a new
Right,
student.
but you can look at it from the administrative perspective.
Yeah,
They don't
of course.
care.
They don't care. They don't care. That's why we're doing this.
What is getting signatures and all, they get on their desk and say, well, this is nice, and then you put it in the shredder. What is stopping them from doing that?
Well,
Alright, well,
We have
here's
first
that.
step.
we have
Can everybody calm down for a second? Can we have order, please? Can a union rep comment on that? Because I really feel like this is where the
Alright,
union
that's a good
should be
point.
giving
So-
comments.
I was waiting for it to calm down a little bit. As people have been saying, this is just a first step. This is the first step for us to approach the administration with what we have.
Well, isn't November 10th a week to wait for a first step?
We have been trying to organize this. Toivo, who just left, and I have just gotten appointed. So we're doing the best we can in the time we have. Alright, they're gonna go through the plans. So with the plans and the signatures, we'll approach the administration. They shut us down. We have other options for us. At the last meeting, we mentioned, oh, sorry, this was at the employment and labor committee meeting. We talked about using the fence fund to start putting media pressure on the school. We cannot legally strike, but there are other things that we can do. If we can get access to our defense fund money, we can take out ads in the New York Times. We can get media attention down here. We can have articles written up. We can basically use the media for our support. And if the school looks bad, they're going to have to listen to us. When they start rejecting plans that are designed to save them money, that's going to look really crappy for them. Because it's showing that they really don't care about us. They don't even care about being able to save money to support all the different students. Yes?
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Do the defense fund, is it a GSEU or is it a GSO?
It's GSEU.
Okay.
So what the defense fund covers, because the GSEU is not just students, there's Verizon employees, and I think there's one other group involved. The defense fund is used for when those other groups strike. However, the defense fund is for everyone that's part of the union. So since we cannot legally strike, we should be able
That
to
was
use
my
the
other
defense
question.
funds
What
for
do you mean we can't strike?
There's a
We're
Taylor
citizens.
Act.
We're
It's called the
state
Taylor Act.
employees.
So if we strike, we violate our contract, Stanger fires us and hires just a bunch of people as TAs.
It's called the Taylor Act. It was passed in the 1960s. We can't have a wildcat strike.
What's that?
That means like a public sector union going on strike, like the police, they can't go on strike. Firefighters can't go on strike.
Okay.
I'm a labor economist, so yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we can't strike, where does our leverage come from?
The media.
The media shaming them. This is what they've done. They did that 10 years ago, and this is how they got this increase for stipends. GSEU shamed the university publicly. There was articles written about it in the Chronicle Higher Education, and Binghamton University looked terrible for it. And they increased the stipends.
By double.
By double.
I think what we do now,
We're doing both. It's not just, this is all we
We have to
going
give
on
them a
right now.
proposal to reject first.
Right. So
Okay.
we're
What are
working
we
on
asking
this.
for?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I interrupted, it's okay.
We're working on it at the same time. So this is Plan B after they've rejected Plan A. But we're getting there.
Yeah, this is not something we can't just
Give
have
them an opportunity first.
Okay, Laura, can you introduce yourself?
Alright, so I'm the GSEU business agent. I'm from the anthropology department. I introduced myself, I think, last time, but if some of you weren't here.
May I talk next?
Yeah.
Thank you. So in terms of like, we can't go on strike, right? There's a legal definition of what a strike is. There's a lot of things that you can do that push up against that legal definition that we are capable of doing, in addition to going and occupying the president's office and things like that, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do that can put pressure on the university to raise existing GATA wages, and it has happened before. When in 2005, right, our wages doubled.
It's just in the anniversary.
Yeah, it's time for a
It's
change.
time.
Time for a change, right?
Yeah, I think that a big thing that needs to happen right now is that this needs to start being spread to all the grad students. Like, it cannot stay here, it cannot stay amongst the people that are. So Callum and I are actually from the anthropology department. We just wanted to come and check out the discussions about what's going on. Because we were concerned about the lack of kind of information that was coming through the GSO newsletter. Like, it wasn't even mentioned, so we kind of wanted to know what discussions were. And like, the anthropology department is pretty fired up about this. We've had a lot of support from faculty and from our chairs, which is great. It's unfortunate to hear some other departments didn't get the same support. But we've talked about very real things that graduate students can do, and we are ready to mobilize and do those things, such as like occupying space of top kind of officials to have office hours. So all of your undergrads are coming through these office spaces that they can't tell you to leave. Also taking over the university's hashtag, it's what, like hashtag premier education, some crap like that. Like, everybody start tweeting with that. There's like, their biggest I think we need to get away from the argument of this is unfair and move towards countering their argument of we're doing this to increase graduate numbers. Well, you know what? In our department, graduates on average donate 3 hours of their time a semester. We have about 100 graduate students, that's 300 hours. You find someone to go show around new graduate students, to go show around prospective graduate students, because we're not doing that anymore. We're working 20-hour TAs and then we're stopping. So here's all those tests, professors, that now you grade yourself because I put in my 20 hours this week. So these are the types of things that we need to let people know we can do, that we will have very real consequences because nobody's gonna want all their incoming prospective students to be told about them here.
Well, I think
But
that's
hold on, we got some hands up. He's had his hand up in the back there for a long time here.
My comment is speaking. So there's, apparently, I didn't know this, 10 years ago they did something similar, and there was an increase, and apparently it's for media attention. And there might be some people who perceive that media attention will not work so well now, but a thing to remember is Stanger is probably going to be receptive to negative media attention. Do you guys know about the deer issue on the campus? A healthy reason, apparently, of why he does not want to call is because then PETA will strike or do whatever the hell they're going to do, and will negatively affect the university and will reduce applications and acceptances, people who commit to coming here who are undergrads. And he's afraid that the media will blow this issue up in such a way that it will negatively affect the number to the university that brings in.
That's not stupid, that's a great point.
Thank you. Great. So he's susceptible to such things, and let's pressure him on those things.
Well,
You had your hand up.
Yes, I would like to go back to your comment in earlier meeting when you suggested that probably we should also target higher level, the governor office. So I don't know if it would be, I think we can do it at the same time, you know, basically present our concern and disagreement to the administration, but at the same time connecting to higher official, because then the administration is pressured from a higher rank than
GVDMA, Sarah?
Okay, a very quick update before I start. I just want to add something to what John said, and just remind everybody that everyone at this table owes a big thank you to the people who have volunteered their time to work on this issue specifically, whether it's in your own departments, but especially the people that are coming to the Employment and Labor Committee and really physically doing something. Just want to say thank you and acknowledge those people and how much time they've spent on it. Okay, moving on to SCMA. So I have not given an update the past couple weeks, so I just want to remind everybody who I am and what I do. I am the graduate vice president of the social cultural groups on campus. So you are all representatives of a departmental sub-organization. The SCMA, the social cultural groups, are non-departmental sub-organizations of the GSO. There's $14,000 allotted to them, which we have divided up amongst all of those groups at the meetings that I preside over, I guess. So I met with the groups twice in September, once in October, and the last meeting we had was today. People are getting their vouchers in. I thought it'd be an appropriate time to just give the Senate a very quick update on the groups and what kind of money they're spending. So very quickly, the Student Labor Alliance has had a film series that's taken place at the Bundy Museum. They've used cafe money for that. That was approved, I believe, in the first Senate meeting. So they haven't used any of their own personal money yet because they're using cafe money for that. The ISA, which is the International Student Organization, they've been doing career stuff and mentorship events, so they've been using money on that. EVOS primarily has been doing their Wine Wednesday events, which is open to everyone, kind of just a time to relax, hang out, talk about evolutionary studies and how that is kind of a cross-disciplinary thing. The Graduate African Student Organization so far has done an alumni reunion. The Iranian Student Organization has not spent any of their money yet. They did not attend the meeting today, and I've contacted them to keep track of that. Harper Pallet has used all of their money for the fall on printing costs for the journal, Harper Pallet. The Chinese Student and Scholar Association hasn't spent any money yet, but they have plans for future events. The Binghamton University Parents Collective has spent money on apple picking so far, and they have some more events coming up. The Indian Graduate Student Organization hasn't spent money yet, but they have a big Diwali event coming up on November 23rd that they're going to be spending a lot of money on. So that's what's going on with the cultural groups.
All right. Moving on to assistant to the president. I believe she has an assistant.
Yes, so we're gonna have a coffee hour next Tuesday, that would be November 17th. It's gonna be from noon to 1, we'll have food and coffee available. hopefully. And so that's November 17th. It's a great opportunity to come and talk about this. Was it Monday? Yeah, it was Monday the 16th. I screwed that up. Sorry.
Where is that?
So this is the 16th? It'll be Monday the 16th from noon to 1. And then we'll also have one December 7th from noon to 1 as well. And we're bringing in different campus resources to come speak. So we'll have Center for Learning and Teaching will come speak briefly. And yeah, good snacks.
South University, included.
Yes.
Quick question, are we turning the signatures in today?
If you got them, bring them up.
Alright, so that's it.
I'm good.
Everyone, thank you very much for your
Motion to
motion, yeah, motion.
I move it.
Can I have a second motion? Okay, 3:30, okay. Meeting adjourned.
And I repeat, if you want to get information on your department for these kind of proposals, please email me. I'll be more than happy to help you.
If you're a senator, make sure you signed in.
Are you coming tomorrow?
I